the retirement of
Hmm.
Lomachenko. Speak to me about the legend of this man. I mean, I can rattle off the 396 amateur fights, the one loss. He avenged that loss. The three weight.
397 with the one loss.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. And then what we talking? Three weight world champion, quickest to do it as a super featherweight, quickest to do the two weight world champion, quickest to become a three weight world champion. And to be honest, he probably was never a lightweight. He should have really been a super featherweight at best. Yeah, and he fought everybody and anybody. Just talk to me about the legend and the Hall of Fame career of Lomachenko and his retirement.
He's a great fighter. End of story. I mean, he did everything you could do. He, as you mentioned, all the accolades in terms of his professional career, in terms of winning titles as quickly, in terms of number of fights, one title, two title, three title. Uh, he's the only fighter ever to, him and Rigondeaux had a fight against each other. It's the only time in the history of boxing where you had two-time gold medal winners fighting each other. He won that fight by a stoppage. Yes, Rigondeaux was coming up in weight, fine. Uh, but this was a fighter that was committed to excellence. His whole career was, he made a lot of money, obviously, but he was never about the money like some fighters are. When he signed professionally with Top Rank, he didn't go in there like most fighters when they're signing professional contracts and negotiating with different promoters. They're looking to get, the biggest signing bonus they can get, understandably. He was never about that. Of course, he got a signing bonus, but his only thing was to Bob Arum, and Bob has told me this story. Can you get me a world title fight in my pro debut? Bob was like, I can't do that, but I can probably get you one in your second fight. So he signed, and they put him in a real fight in his pro debut. He fought like a fringe type contender for a WBO regional title. It was a 10-round fight. He won that fight. It was good enough to put him in the ratings, and he got a title shot in the next fight. He lost a really close decision to Orlando Salido, who was a two-division world champion and as experienced as there could possibly be as a professional. And amateur boxing, as great as Loma was, is still different. He really didn't know how to handle things that night. But in his third fight, after he lost that split decision, by the way, and Salido was overweight, so he was at a further disadvantage, but the fight went on. And he continually hit him below the belt in that fight, wasn't warned. But in his third fight, he easily defeated Gary Russell Jr., who was undefeated with like 24 pro fights, also had been an Olympian. The things he did were remarkable. And I've heard a lot of people hate on Lomachenko. I don't get that. I covered most of his professional fights in person. He had what, 18-1, or 18. What did he finish? 18-3, I think.
I think it was, yeah.
I think I was ringside for like 12 or 13 of his fights. He would do, and even if I wasn't, I watched the fights. He would do stuff in a fight that I never saw other fighters do before, either in person or just watching on television or watching, old fights that were, long before I was even born. He had the best footwork I've ever seen, period, ever. That's people I've covered in person. That's watching, a zillions of videos of other fighters. The footwork was unprecedented. And it's amazing how he got that way. Before he ever was given gloves to box, his father, Anatoly, who was the trainer, made him do dance lessons, like ballet type classes, for like 2 years before he would let him put the gloves on, because he wanted him to have the proper foundation. What's the proper foundation? It's your feet. His feet were extraordinary. You combine that with the southpaw stance, quality punching power, tremendous amounts of amateur experience, heart of a lion, all those things. I mean, just go back and watch what happened in the Linares fight when he became the lightweight champion. Here's a guy that had taken his first knockdown, who had a torn shoulder. He fought through it and he knocked out Linares and became the champion. That was an unbelievable night at Madison Square Garden. And I get hate for this, and I love the hate. People can say whatever they want. I am here to tell you, on their best night, talent-wise, he had as much talent as Floyd Mayweather and Roy Jones. And if he fought Floyd Mayweather, who was a 130-pounder also, and you're right, by the way, when you say that Loma was fighting above what he probably would have been best at, but he went to lightweight because that's where he could get, at least some better names and better fights, because that's all he ever talked about. I interviewed him 1,000 times. I covered him in scrums where he talked to the media 1,000,000 times. He would only talk about, I want to fight the best guys. I want to fight for the belts. He never cared about the money. I want the best fighters. And he fought who they could find for him, who was willing to step into the ring with him. He was calling out Tank Davis 5 years ago. Tank Mayweather, wouldn't let him do it. They wouldn't let him near him. And it was only at the end of Loma's career where finally, when Tank was no longer with Floyd, where he started calling him out. But he would go into the ring and do amazing things. And an extraordinary fighter. And like I said, I feel like at 130 pounds or 135 pounds, if he fought him in his prime against Floyd in his prime, it's a serious fight. Again, I've said this before. I'm not saying he would win or he would lose, but I'm saying he might win some of those fights and Floyd might win some of those fights. But to anybody saying, oh, Floyd easy, you're absolutely wrong about that. I know what I'm looking at. And he was a spectacular, extraordinarily technically sound, superb boxer, as was Floyd. And they would compete at the highest level. I don't care what anybody says. I'll die on that hill.
I might be on that hill with you, Dan. How's that?
You're welcome to be with me.